Bonjour à tous et bienvenue sur mon chaîne où tout ce que vous écoutez et verrez est produit dans un enregistrement. Je suis votre hôte, l'homme d'un enregistrement. And that's all the French you're going to hear from me over the course of this video, save for maybe some names. And even for those two sentences, I had to do a lot of dictionary diving. I should probably take French out of my resume, or maybe look more into some French broadcasting terminology, but that's beside the point of this video, which, as the title might have already given away, is to serve as a pitch for a potential sequel to Ambition: A Minuet in Power. This is not the first time I've talked about this video game. In fact, it would actually be the third. And because tomorrow, as of the time of this video's release, it will have been 235 years since the reason July 14th is France's national holiday, I thought I would delve back into this well and see what else I could dig up. Coincidentally, I also did a playthrough of this game, another playthrough of this game relatively recently, in order to refamiliarize myself with what is distinctive about its appeal. Even got an achievement out of it too. But anyway, that's beside the point. I should talk about the sequel now. And because I am a story guy, and this game pretty much thrives off of its story, that is where I will start discussing its sequel as well. And I have to say that when it comes to the narrative of the sequel, there are two clear and distinctive paths that one can follow. The first one is the obvious one. Pick an ending from a Minuet in Power and then build a continuation from that. While it is the obvious choice, it is not the one I personally favor, because a lot of the appeal of a Minuet in Power stems precisely from its open-ended nature, from the fact that you as the player can either choose to indulge in alternate history, or just allow the events of history to unfold as they normally would have, while you simply immerse yourself within the setting. That's also something you can do. Decide whether or not you want to channel your ambition towards changing your own station, or towards changing the station of the entire nation. Choosing one of the endings from Minuet in Power as canonical retroactively dulls the appeal of the game, because it places additional narrative weight upon that ending in particular. Still, I can't help but recognize the the appeal it would have, particularly when it comes to digging into the influential historical figures of the time. And it would also serve as a culmination of the theme of ambition by having one of the potential endings be that of the character receiving the title of Empress. Whether or not that culmination is worth telling the appeal of the first game is open to interpretation. I personally don't think that to be the case. Don't find that to be the case, or don't think that is the case. It's the same thing, really. The second path, and the second narrative path, and the one that I prefer, is that instead of a continuation sequel, it would instead be a parallel sequel, so to speak, where the events of the game would take place within the same time frame as those of a Minuet in Power, only we're following a new main character. And his storyline would in many ways mirror and contrast that of Yvette. Yes, his, because I want this second main character to be to be a man. Also, ideally, he should be either of the bourgeoisie or of the lower nobility. Nevertheless, a third estate member, someone who could, just like Yvette, relatively easily flick between the various factions of the game in order to influence the course of events, and give the player as much as much creative and narrative freedom as the first game. And in case you're thinking about it, no. I'm not planning for Ambition 2 to be focused on Baron Ahmad de Marco. Though I have nothing against him or any of the other characters from a Minuet in Power making cameo appearances or even having their own storylines within the game. More on that later. The endings, I think, would mirror to some extent those that are available within a Minuet in Power as well. And given that this character would be a little bit more involved in the political dynamics of the time, and of the place, there would be more timed cues that the audience would have to pay attention to, and that doesn't just mean events; it also means like political gatherings and such. That adds a little bit as a level of difficulty, and it would be present regardless of which narrative path is chosen to build a game around. So in order to simplify the game and keep a similar play experience while also avoiding overload, there are some places where the sequel to A Minuet in Power will have to cut the fat. Thankfully, the first game shows some hints as to what can be trimmed. I lost my train of thought here. Wait a minute. So yeah, as I said, there are some parts where the first game shows what can be trimmed. In A Minuet in Power, players have to juggle 5 factions, a revenge mission, as well as Ahmand's storyline, and on top of all that, you can also get the Madame Mirror, the Cognac Cellar, and the Libertine's Revenge, and the Kristoff's Experiment storylines thrust upon you. So. And I have to say that really leads to a lot of bloat and overload within the player experience. Tertiary storylines, such as the 4 I've mentioned, should instead be flagged appropriately so that they can effectively be pruned over the course of a single playthrough. My idea would be to have it such that only one of these tertiary storylines could show up over the course of a single playthrough. Though I am also considering the possibility of a more lax pruning, where instead of only one tertiary storyline being entered into per playthrough, a second tertiary storyline could be entered over the course of a one playthrough of the game after the first tertiary storyline will have been resolved. Also, as I've mentioned in my review of A Minuet in Power, the dating system is kind of redundant in that the dates themselves can really have a lot of the same drawbacks as regular in-game events, but none of the strengths, not a lot of the dynamics that are dynamics or influence abilities that characterize those events. So for that reason, I would instead ditch it entirely and have romance storylines be driven exclusively by event-based encounters or casual encounters. As for the faction system, that will look very differently depending on what the depending on what narrative path is chosen. If the second path is chosen, as in the one with parallel events, well then the faction system can just can quite cleanly be ported over from the first game with minimal changes that better reflect the uh, resulting dynamic, uh, due to the uh, more active, more engaged political situation. If the first narrative path is chosen, that will depend on the that will depend um, on what ending of Aminoid Power is chosen for continuation. I myself would favor a successful revolution scenario, which for one is historically accurate and therefore easier to research. One where the church and the crown fade away, and the revolution has been split into several factions, leaving the monarchy as not the monarchy, the military as the strongest faction by default. Though I do have to admit that a scenario with a triumphant monarchy, where the revolution will have been stomped out, but the church and the bourgeoisie uh, are divided over over the merits of the workings of the crown, would also hold some potential and some benefit. Um, it would also be possible for the makers of the game to go full Mass Effect, and instead of having the setting for Ambition 2 to be tied into various endings from a Minuet in Power. Though I do have to say that might be a little too, and I'd like to apologize for the pun, ambitious to actually effectively pull through. And yeah, that was my pitch for a potential Ambition Minuet in Power sequel. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to Aminoed in Power or to my sequel concept, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about book-related and literature topics, a link to which you can find in the description down below. Right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. And additionally, you have the option of supporting me on Patreon, where depending on the level at which you pledge, you will receive various perks, the specifics of which I will allow you to discover for yourselves. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.